When you're supporting systems that handle customer data, it's super important to protect it from unauthorized and inappropriate access. It's not just to defend against external threats. It also protects the data against misuse by employees. This type of behavior would fall under your company's privacy policies. Privacy policies oversee the access and use of sensitive data. They also define what appropriate and authorized use is, and what provisions or restrictions are in place when it comes to how the data is used. Keep in mind that people might not consider the security implications of their actions. So both privacy and data access policies are important to guiding and informing people how to maintain security while handling sensitive data. Having defined and well-established privacy policies is an important part of good privacy practices. But you also need a way to enforce these policies. Periodic audits on cases where sensitive data was accessed can get you there. This was enabled by our logging and monitoring systems. Auditing data access logs is super important. It helps us ensure that sensitive data is only accessed by people who are authorized to access it, and that they use it for the right reasons. It's good practice to apply the principle of least privilege here, by not allowing access to this type of data by default. You should require anyone that needs access to first make an access request with a justification for getting the data. But it can't just be vague or a generic request for access. They should be required to specify what data they need access to. Usually, this type of request would also have a time limit that should be called out in the request. That way, you can ensure that data access is only permitted for legitimate business reasons, which reduces the likelihood of inappropriate data access or usage. By logging each data access request and actual data access, we can also correlate requests with usage. Any access that doesn't have a corresponding request should be flagged as a high-priority potential breach that needs to be investigated as soon as possible. Company policies act as our guidelines and informational resources on how and how not to access and handle data. They're equally important here. Policies will range from sensitive data handling to public communications. Data handling policies should cover the details of how different data is classified. What makes some data sensitive as opposed to non-sensitive? What's considered confidential data? Well, once different data classes are defined, you should create guidelines around how to handle these different types of data. If something is considered sensitive or confidential, you'd probably have stipulations that this data shouldn't be stored on media that's easily lost or stolen, like USB sticks or portable hard drives. They're also commonly used without any encryption at all. Imagine if one of your employees lost an unencrypted portable hard drive full of customer information. Disaster. That's exactly the situation a data access policy tries to avoid. It might also make sense to include laptops and mobile devices, like phones and tablets, in the removable media classification, since these devices are easily lost or stolen. Even though they're more commonly encrypted these days, the loss and theft rate is much higher. You may not like users storing sensitive data on removable media, but sometimes you're out of luck. There may be an occasion where that's the only solution to accomplish a task. If this is the case, it would help to have recommendations on how to handle this situation in a secure way. So, you could offer an appropriate encryption solution and provide instructions and support on its use.